Welcome to Pario magazine, where I chat with individuals who have a desire to create. Today, I'm joined by the ring announcer and voice of NHPW. Welcome to Pario magazine, Michael Lee.
It's a pleasure, man. Always happy to have a chat to you.
So, how's life over on that side of the country at the moment? Things open
Do,
back up again?
doing pretty. Things opened back up a couple of months ago to the rest of the country. Things are doing pretty well, actually. Uh, we had to postpone a couple shows at the start of the year, but looks like things are getting back on track. We've made some big announcements for some things that will hopefully happen the rest of the year, and yeah, I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see what all the collaborations that everyone's doing at the moment.
Awesome. So, we're here today to chat about your journey in the world of wrestling. Before we do so, though, do you want to give our audience a brief introduction to who Michael is away from the wrestling scene?
Oh, that's a deep one. Outside of the wrestling scene, I'm just a postal worker, man. I'm a, I'm an older brother. I'm an uncle. God, you're getting really philosophical on me. I'm not sure how to. But no, outside of wrestling, then you wouldn't know that I'm a part of the industry in any way. And I think that's like that with a lot of people. Like I know a lot of musicians, a lot of comedians, like they don't have you wouldn't look at them and naturally think like, oh, they're an athlete or they're a wrestler or even a part of the scene. And then just yeah, lo and behold, when you see them in a different light, there they are.
Yep. So in terms of in the wrestling world, when did you discover this passion for wrestling?
For like most people, it was growing up with like SmackDown and Raw. With Australian wrestling, though, it kind of just slowly transitioned from just my love of pop culture because I would often volunteer with the Oz Comic Cons and the Supernovas, and they would always have the wrestling. They would have TNT with the AWF. He would always have the wrestling go with the pop culture circuit, and sometimes he would actually work with the wrestlers who are a part of the local scene. But me not processing things properly, I always naturally thought, oh, that's over east. Like, there's no real wrestling in WA. What are you talking about? And then I'd have people hand me flyers and then just like, oh, there is actual wrestling here. Like, oh, I should probably look into this. And just with just slowly but surely, like I started getting more of a greater awareness and appreciation for the wrestling here. And I've been in an announcer. I've been in NHPW since 2018, so going on 4 years now. And yeah, it's been a journey, man.
How did that sort of process go from being a fan to getting more involved behind the scenes with the company?
Very gradual. If you had told me like this is how the progression would be, like it was not something that I'd mapped out. Because honestly, I just wanted to again like upon realizing that we had wrestling in WA, much less Australia, like properly, it was a matter of like, oh, just showing my support as a fan, and like, oh, maybe I can volunteer and help out with shows however I can. And it became a matter of helping set up the ring, and then it became a matter of helping out on shows with being security, being a cameraman. And there was an opening that came up later on in that year when I first understood about this scene. And my broadcast partner Jake Malone, he wasn't sure if he was actually going to be able to continue with NHPW at the time, and I was going to be brought in as his replacement. But again, it was a very gradual thing, and now we are dynamic duo. One of the many. I'm one of the voices of NHPW, and yeah, it's been incredible, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Was when you were a fan, was sort of ring announcing and broadcasting one of the elements where you thought, hey, maybe if I was going to get involved, that would be the path I would take?
No, I knew that I've always been okay with public speaking growing up. Like with high school, like I was always counselor and a couple other things. I prefer talking to large groups of people rather than one on one. Sometimes I'm a lot better at it now, but it's just one of those natural, like, when I realized that I probably could, and when the offer was made to me, just like, oh yeah, because I've always gravitated towards the managers and the ring announcers growing up, but it's just you don't see yourself in those scenarios until someone just kind of puts you in them, and just yeah, you have a trial by fire essentially.
Were there any sort of in particular managers or ring announcers that you sort of looked at for inspiration when you were given that opportunity?
Not for inspiration, like, not, I didn't want to replicate anybody. um I would say, like, I have my favorites like Tony Chimmel and Howard Finkel growing up. I have some, like, there are some amazing ring announcers working right now. You have your Justin Roberts in AEW, you have your Tim Bar in Major League Wrestling. But I know how to project my voice properly, and I'm a big fan of anime and voice actors in general. So I know, just like, I know how to use the instrument a bit more. But um, no, I'd rather be me rather than someone else.
Okay. And then sort of ring announcing is a big part of every wrestling show, which for me, I think it kind of gets overlooked at times. How important do you feel a great ring introduction is to take a wrestler and a show to the next level?
It's crucial, especially depending on the setup that you have at your wrestling scene. So some, depending on if you have, say, your commentary is piped in through the arena, or it's closed circuit, like a lot of wrestling shows are. So if you think about it, say for maybe a video package beforehand for a match, like, you are the immediate thing that is setting up the story for people who have maybe never seen these two people or more compete in a ring together. So you are setting the stage to make sure that people understand the gravity of the bout that's going to be presented towards them. And I think sometimes you're not always just saying the following contest is scheduled for 1 fall. You're not always saying that. You're also adding into it. You can add some extra little story beats, just building up an event. Like, just, you get to do an introduction and just make people feel at home. And yeah, and as you mentioned, there are a lot of creatives who, there are a lot of amazing people who make a show. But in the role that I play, and the role that a lot of other people play, ring announcing is very important to help create that atmosphere.
Yep. Um, in your opinion, what makes for a great wrestling introduction?
A great introduction, definitely knowledge of the product first and foremost, knowledge of the wrestlers who are coming in, like how, like, I try and announce heels and faces a bit differently, uh, where, like, I'd be a bit more like gravelly with heels more so, and, like, I try and make it sound like it's more, I want to say edgy, but you want to make it seem like, oh, and especially whoever you introduce first as well, you want to say, um, you want to make sure that they are distinct. I think as well, and just understanding of where the match is on the card. So, not that you don't want to commit your all to every match on the card, but you want to build to things. So when you're in the main event, like, I do sometimes I'll do a proper boxing announce, where, like, in the corner to my left, corner to my right, and I will elongate, I'll stretch it out, I'll add in extra bits here and there. So I think timing and product are crucial parts to it.
Yep. Yeah, you don't want every single person to get the exact same introduction, otherwise it all just becomes a bland slab,
You dig into
basically.
the well too many times, you're going to end up dry. Yeah.
Yep. And then sort of before a show, how do you prepare, and do you get sort of input from the wrestlers themselves on how they want to be portrayed in their intro?
I'll seek people out. Sometimes I'll try and message them the week of, just to avoid running around as much as possible. Uh, when I first started, it was the other way around. People coming up to me to make sure that I knew what I was doing, which I do appreciate still to this day. Now there is that level of trust, and, like, oh no, this guy isn't going to try and purposely try and bury me on as I announce to the ring. Um, but no, it's and also I will try and warm up my voice. Like as I mentioned, like I'm a fan of voice actors and stuff, and you can't go out there without like just you can't just automatically jump out there and oh hey lights are on let's just start. Some people can do that, and uh, I commend them that they're able to do that. But for me and for a lot of people that I've met, like it's a gradual thing. There's a lot of warm up and build up for not just myself but for the wrestlers as well.
Yeah, I guess there'd be nothing worse than going out there first match, doing the introduction, and blowing your voice out straight away.
I have done that, like the day after I've done that, and sometimes we'll have carnival shows and we'll be a part of with festivals and things like that. So after like the sixth or seventh set, like I've made that mistake unfortunately, but I understand the limits of my voice and what I'm capable of now. So yeah, these things take time.
And then I imagine once a show starts, you don't just get in the ring, do the introductions, sit down, and wait for the next match. What other sort of roles do you have behind the scenes to keep a show running smoothly?
I'm also one of the commentators. I also like in terms of like it's mainly before the show that where you will also help set up the ring. You will help rally the troops and make sure they understand their role. It's a lot of uh, conf- going back and forth with the promoter or the booker, and just making sure that okay, in case there's any last minute changes, I'm still an errand person sometimes to an extent where I'll be rushing back and forth to make sure okay this has been changed or someone will inform me. um, so yeah, you try and make that though very subtle, like so because people you don't want to draw attention away from a match. Like that's the last thing that you want to do is like the people in the ring are there to tell their story. So I'll mainly it's the commentary, but so that's why I try and do a lot of my work beforehand to make sure that I'm not distracting, like so someone isn't just looking at the ring and just going like oh hey what's that guy doing. And
Yep.
yeah.
Do you think that's sort of another thing that is overlooked in terms of indie wrestling? Like these people that are on shows, they don't just necessarily have one job, whether it's ring announcing or refereeing or the wrestlers themselves. A lot of these people do two or three different roles to keep a show and make a show great.
Yeah, we are construction workers, we are event organizers, we are a lot of things leading up to a show. We're promoters, like trying to get in talks with our friends and family to say, come check out the show. We're security, depending on if the people who aren't on the card, like just to make sure that people don't jump the guardrail, which has rarely happened a couple of times because people like to test the boundaries. But no, like, and even when one of the team can't do their job, like you try and fill in that role as best you can. Our lighting guys, Kyron is our lighting guy in NHPW with DJ KGB Lighting, I believe it is, and he had to have foot surgery not too long ago. So our cameraman and a couple of other staff had to work the lights for the last couple of shows. And just like you don't appreciate the work that people do until they're not around. And you're
Mhm.
just like, how in the hell did we do this like before? It's like,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like I don't know how this works, but it works. So I'm glad those people are here.
And we're very grateful. Like again, it's a team effort, whether people realize it or not. When they come in and watch a show, like you gain a greater appreciation for all the work that people do.
And then looking back on your early days and comparing them to today, how do you feel your skills have evolved over that period?
I've gained a better understanding. Like I've gained a lot more confidence in going up to people, and especially like festivals and carnivals, because you are trying to entice and trying to grab the attention of a lot of first time viewers of professional wrestling, of people who may have seen it on the WWE or whatever. So like you're you have a greater sense of your presence and a greater awareness of how you present yourself to others, and making sure that you aren't putting people off by like what's the about the spectacle that you're trying to create. Uh, I think just yeah, I think I just over the years, I think I just say I'm a bit more comfortable in my skin, and I'm just a bit. It comes a bit more naturally now, which I'm very grateful for.
Yep. And then in terms of the introductions that you've done for NHPW, do you have one particular wrestler's intro that is your personal favorite or one that you really enjoy and look back on fondly?
Uh, I have two answers for that one. So the first one is more of a cop out one because I do the acknowledgement of countries at the NHPW shows because I'm my family like a Goinunga from down south in a town called Katanning here in WA. So that's always a personal point of pride that I'm actually able to do that for each and every show and just bring a bit more culture. The actual for an actual match though, uh, before so this has been February 2020, just before the start of the pandemic, we were able to bring over Tom Lawler and the professional low key, and they were the main event match of our show. And they'd only wrestled a few times in Major League Wrestling, so I was the only other ring announcer to ever announce these two together in a ring.
Okay.
And the reason why it was so special to me is because I got to have a quick chat to both the competitors beforehand, and Tom Lawler, he wanted me to say in the introduction, say that I've beaten Low Key 3 times, or like I'm paraphrasing, but just surprise him with it. And so in the ring, as I'm about to announce Tom Lawler, he just whispers in my ear. So what he would have said before, but he says, "You know what to say it," and work that in, and just like the look of just like, "Oh, is that how we're playing it?" Just little moments like that. I love crafting those little memories. That's personally one of my favorites, without question.
Yep. Yeah, nice little story moment that sort of you weren't expecting when they were first announced.
No, absolutely.
And do you have a dream performer that you'd like to introduce?
Uh, I have like lots of favorite wrestlers, and like obviously the dream is that more of them come to Australia. Like it, if I had to pinpoint one, it would be Killer Cross, only because he actually was originally booked middle of 2019 or end of 2019, and that was around about the time that he got signed to NXT. So we did actually, he was booked for a show, and I followed his career for many years. I would love to have him here. Like he's the one that got away. That's why he's the one that's fresh in my mind. But there are so many wrestlers. Like I'll watch Dynamite, I'll watch MLW Fusion, and just like, man, if they were here, this is what I would do. But yeah, there's a lot of like ideal settings for those kinds of matches and those kinds of announcements.
Oh, well, now that the world is opening back up, we can hopefully get some of those ticked off the list.
So do I. Yeah, I certainly hope so. Like I've had the honor of I got to do commentary work for TCW Tassie Wrestling in December, so I got to see a whole new roster do their thing, and I got to commentate and not announce in that regard, but yeah. So they're not just like international wrestlers, but there are a lot of amazing Australian wrestlers that I would love to uh, give my all for.
Is that exciting to now be able to sort of take these skills that you've learned at home in WA around the country?
It's amazing, and I don't necessarily see them as skills like that. They are, but it's just like me, like projecting my passion, or like moving my passion to like showing my passion to other states, and like my love of like I do love to travel. I haven't obviously uh, gone traveling as much as I would like. Not much same with everybody. So the Tasmanian trip a few months ago was a blessing. It really was. Uh, Sorry, I lost that question just then.
Just is it exciting to sort of be able to use these commentary and announcing skills to travel with wrestling?
It's the building block for me to be able to do those things, and yeah, I couldn't be happier that I'm able to do that, and I would love to do that more with other promotions if they'll allow me, and maybe outside the country. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see how we go.
Alrighty, awesome. So finally, where is the best place for people to support you personally and track your creative journey moving forward?
Me personally, you can support just with NHPW, like me as an individual, I'm fully supported. But in terms of my colleagues, my family with NHPW, it's at Perth Pro Wrestling on NHPW, hashtag WrestlePerth on Instagram. You can show your support and donate to Culture City. It's a century inclusive charity that is run in America that I'm proud to be an ambassador for and have helped NHPW partner with. They do great work with Deathmatch Down Under, and there are some more. Uh, there are some other businesses that have actually partnered earlier this year in New South Wales and Queensland. So it's slowly but surely getting more of awareness here in Australia. But any donations or people that want to learn more about it, please check out Culture City on all their socials as well. Um, I think that's about it. Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to forget someone, but
No, I think that's everything. Yeah. So thank you so much for the chat, and good luck with everything over in Perth. And we'll hopefully see you around the country shortly.
appreciate it, man. Look forward to seeing what comes next for you as well.